What's up, guys and gals? It's Griever back here, bringing you guys Jujustu Kaisen, Chapter 145 review. Now, let's get underway with this because there is, man oh man, there's a lot to talk about in this chapter. There's quite a bit to talk about in this chapter. I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can, but not speed blitz it either. For one thing, I made an assumption at the end of the last review saying that this might not be Tengen himself. This might be one of his guards or one of his attendees or something like that. And even though I was wrong in that statement, I'm not technically wrong in that this is not actually Tengen himself. By the sounds of it, as he says, he's now evolved to a point that he doesn't really have a physical body anymore. He sort of creates it so he can speak with them, but right now his soul is all around them. It's everywhere in that space, in that room sort of idea. He's sort of become more than, as he puts it, he's more curse now than he is human being anymore because of the whole, all the transition, all the stuff that happened in the flashback arc, everything that happened 11 years ago with the Star Plasma Vessel and all that fun jazz. So, here's the deal here. Now, I thought that there would be more between Yuki and Tengen, but because really they start off with, aren't you even going to say hello to me and stuff, is what Yuki said, and everybody this person, this is Tengen? And he goes, well, this isn't even the first time we've met, Yuki. And it's so, but then they just sort of forget that. It's oh, well, what do you mean? What happened back then? What's the, can we get a little more elaboration? Nope. Forget that. The chapter starts off with this isn't the first time we've ever met. But we're going to ignore that for the rest of the chapter. Okay. This is where Tengen basically explains a person named Kenjaku. Now, Kenjaku is basically the sorcerer who, sort of the Hitler-looking dude, Noritoshi, and who is currently in Gito's body, right? Or Gato, or whatever you want to call him. He's in Gito's body. And right now, it's okay, so that's his original name, Kenjaku. Apparently, that's his name isn't, he's not Gito, he's not Noritoshi, he's not Yuji's mom, but he is Kenjaku. So at least now we have an official, villain name for him. So we don't have to keep switching through, who do you really mean? Do you mean the Gito that's taken over? Do you mean the not one? Do you mean this guy? Do you not mean that one? It's no. We finally have an official name for the guy. So at least now in the community, when we talk about him, we'll all know who we mean by simply saying Kenjaku. So, Kenjaku is his name, and Tengen was worried. The reason that it was sort of hard to come and see him and why he closed off the barriers and stuff was because he didn't know who was in league with Kenjaku, and he assumed that Yuki might have been because he can't perceive human beings, their wills, their hearts. He can't see into their minds or anything like that. So he was erring on the side of caution. Now, right off the bat, it's sort of funny. Right off the bat, Yuji asks Tengen, why do you look like that? And it's sort of explained later on because he sort of gives a non-answer and said, if you were alive for 500 years, you'd look like this too. It's no, I wouldn't. My head would not, I would not grow a second pair of eyes, and my head would not, grow this tall. Sorry, no, that's not a good explanation, but okay. That's basically what he says. He is immortal but not immune to aging because of all the stuff, of course, that happened back 11 years ago with the, him wanting to merge with the vessel, and it didn't happen because she was killed and blah, blah, blah. So now he says his aging accelerated as a result because that was part of the problem. Now, we sort of see why this was necessary, I guess, because we're going to have to get into this a little bit because I have slight problem with this because Tengen's whole plan that we find out this chapter, this whole thing with Kenjaku and this whole thing for 1,000 years now has been going on. The ever-ending war, that kind of idea. Okay, that's pretty classic. It's in a lot of fiction, whatever. But the thing is that now we're okay, yeah, we thought he was sort of evil, sacrificing, the high school girl, sacrificing the girl just so he can keep living and stuff. It's very selfish. Who's this Tengen guy? But it's this is all to save the world, to keep humanity safe. But I am going to bring up something that happens later in the chapter that makes me say, wait a minute now. Maybe I'm misreading it, and you guys can let me know in the comment section down below. Because I'm finding it a little wait, So anyways, but what ends up, he basically says, is that his self-awareness as an individual sort of diminished. And this is why I'm saying, like, his current body, the body we're seeing right now, is him sort of trying to pull a physical representation together because his soul has evolved beyond being human anymore, as he continues to say in this chapter. And he says right here, his self-awareness as an individual is all but gone too. So the very world became himself. Now, I don't know if he legit means the whole world. When he says the world, I think he means everything within his barrier. That's what he, like, within this world. Because if it's not, then, like, certain things that he should be able to do, he can't do or he can't perceive. So I'm finding the use of the term the world very loose in this context. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is literally all the way in Antarctica, all the way in Africa, and everywhere else. His spirit is everywhere. If that were the case, though, once again, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really make sense. So I'm believing that it's just a loose term to say that everything inside this space right now that they're in is him, his soul. So anyway, so they basically get right to the point and they ask, listen, we need to free Satoru Gojo, and we need to break into the prison realm. We need to know about Kenjaku's objectives. We need to know more about the Culling Game, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yes, absolutely, we can do that. However, between any picks, he doesn't say Maki, he doesn't say Fushiguro, and he doesn't say Yuji. He says, between Yuta, Yuki, and Chozo, 2 of you need to remain here and guard me. And then we'll go from there. And I'm like, okay, first off, I thought right away, I thought Yuta was going to be one of the ones to remain behind. Because as I love to have this little friendly banter with the community as large. I'm being like, the real MC is here. I like Yuji and everything, but I like Yuta more, especially as a main character. So I thought, like, okay, right away I thought he's gonna have to stay behind because he's like sort of like Gojo. He's sort of OP, and it's like, yeah. Well, we sort of have to take you out of the fight for a while, because, like, it's cool to have you back in the story, but you and Rika, you're kind of OP right now for this arc. So we gotta have a reason to pull him out of the spotlight for now, so that the characters can have fights and can struggle and blah, 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 because him around. But apparently that's not going to be the case. Because in the end, Yuki and Chozo choose to remain behind. I thought that Yuki would adamantly refuse. And I do like the fact that right off the bat, they're like, wait a minute. First off, you aren't, like, you can age, but you are immortal. So why do you even need guards? Maki asks, are you worried about the seal? And Yuki straight up says, wait a minute now. I want to know the conditions here. Why and for how long? How long do we need to guard you? If we agree to this, I don't want to be stuck here for 20 years, So you better, start confessing. Tell us why you need guards. Tell us how long you need us to guard you. Then we might decide on who's staying. So I like her attitude right off the bat. She's just like, nope. We need details first. We're not just going to blindly agree to this bullshit. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then at this point, he sort of ignores he goes into the why, I suppose, but he starts to talk about Kenjaku and basically says that his objective is to force the evolution of all human beings throughout the land of Japan. Because what he wants to do is he wants to has chosen merging all of humankind with Tengen. And as Tengen points out, he's more cursed spirit now, and he's everywhere and nowhere. He has no sense of individualism. Sort of like Alucard and Helsing sort of idea, when that whole, with the Schrodinger's cat thing. He's like, I am me and I am not me. I am everywhere and I am nowhere. Sort of that concept, right? That's what Tengen is. Tengen is basically the epitome. He is Schrodinger's cat. That's the idea behind Tengen. However, it's working in a much more physical, in a much more literal sense here. And so merging with him is going to, because Fushiguro even asks, what does he intend to do, though? Like, what's his idea? His objective is to force the evolution of everybody here, and he can't do it the way that Fushiguro brings this up. I'm not 100% on what he's really talking about. I sort of forget this, but he says, basically, like, why didn't he try to do it this point and that point, and et cetera, sort of trying to explain why he couldn't do it before. Tengen just explains, like, that would take a shit ton of cursed energy, because he's talking about using idle transfiguration. which makes sense. Like, why can't he just do it through that method? Why is he trying to go through all these different methods? And he goes, because nobody has that much cursed energy. Like, that's a stupid amount of cursed energy, and it would take, he'd have to go through it. Triggering an evolution individual with a cursed technique is incredibly inefficient, and it would just take time, and like, it just wouldn't, that's not his purpose. His purpose is to merging all of humankind with Tengen. And he says, and then they ask about the star plasma vessel, which is what we knew about. That's how he halted the aging. That's how he kept himself human. So basically, by the sounds of it, because he didn't merge with the star plasma vessel before, now it opened the door. It opened the opportunity, because Tengen couldn't stop his own evolution anymore because he didn't merge with the star plasma vessel. Now the idea of merging all of humankind with Tengen all at once, I guess that's what Kenjaku wants to do. Now that opened the door for that to be a possibility now. Now it's a possibility, which I'm like, okay. So before, he sort of needed this to all go down this way. And they go into that because, and Chozo even asks, like, you're one person. How, like, can't you, like, merge with multiple people? But he even says, like, no, my evolved soul exists all around us right now. I'm not even myself. Myself is now the world. So it's like, okay, so it's sort of making sense. Once again, if he is the whole world, I guess he really has no power or control in the whole world sort of idea, but he's sort of like the Force. He's sort of like Ki. He's everywhere. Once again, Schrodinger's cat feeling a little bit here, because he doesn't have a sense of self anymore. He is everywhere, but he's here, but he's not here. And so a little confusing, a little literal, but all right. I'm following this so far. And basically what he goes on to say is that if a human merges with him, he'll transform into something greater than a sorcerer. And as a new being that is both there and not there. Once again, Schrodinger's cat. And he says, I possess barrier technique, so I'm able to maintain this form and self-control even after evolving, because he has barrier techniques. But if humankind evolves, and even if only one person rages out of control, the whole world will end, because he would be connected to everyone. So there would be no boundaries between individuals. So one person freaks out, all of humanity freaks out, and it's basically the end of humankind. Now, why Kenjaku wants to do this? Even, like, because that's the main thing. I'm like, okay, this plot is starting to make sense. Like, why he needs the killing game, what he's trying to do, but why is he trying to do it? Like, what's the purpose? Does he want, like, all of humankind to just get eradicated, go evil? Does he want them all to be happy? Does he want them all to be evil? Does he want them to destroy themselves? Like, what is he really after? And Tengen says, well, that's the one thing I don't know. Like, I know what he's intending to do. I know what he wants to do. He wanted me to evolve so that now he can merge me with just humanity. And if he merges me with humankind, it's only going to take one bad day, one trigger, and then everyone's connected all at once, and it's like, bang. Sort of reminded me of the X-Men plot from X2 or whatever, when it was like, if Charles Xavier is connected to Cerebro at the time, and he decides to, like, have a headache or sort of concentrate, he could kill everybody on the planet, because when he's using Cerebro, every mind in the world is connected to Charles Xavier all at once. So if he tried, he could just, gone. So, as he said, the impurity of 100 million people would flood the world, and what just happened in Tokyo would happen globally to the entire world, and that would be it. Once again, Yuji asked, why would Kenjaku want to do this? Like, what's the purpose behind that? And he said, we don't know yet. So there's still more to this story that we're not aware, but at least we know why he's trying to do it, because this is his end game. This is his goal, is to merge humans with Tengen. So then they say, well, why don't you just refuse to merge? And he says, because, like, yeah, that was the idea up until 11 years ago, because now that he's evolved, he's more a cursed spirit than a human being. He's not a human being anymore, he's more cursed spirit, and as a result, cursed spirit manipulation, hence why he took over Suguru Gito. That's why he took over Gito's body, because now he's got cursed spirit manipulation, which, of course, as we know from the flashback and stuff, literally cursed spirits become their plate. Like, yeah, grab, yep, exercise, pacify, dunk, yep, now I have all your ability, I have all your power. It's like, Well, shit. That was a great body choice on Kenjaku's part. It's like, oh, goddamn. And everybody reacts to that as they should. It's like, oh, shit. And it's like, right, okay. So this is starting to make sense. Now, considering Kenjaku's ability as a sorcerer, he might be able to see, basically saying Kenjaku is one of the most powerful sorcerers in existence. If we ever meet up, he might be able to take me in 2.5 seconds. I don't know. I might be able to hold him off for longer. Maybe not. Maybe... I have no idea. I might not even feel a thing. I might not even know he was there, and then boom, he's got me. So we're not trying to take that chance. So he's not like confident like Gojo. He's like, I'm powerful and everything, but this guy is extremely powerful. He's been around for 1,000 years since the time of Sukuna. He's been involved with Sukuna before. And he just, like, this is the deal. So what I need now is guards, as Yuta points out. It's like, that's why we need guards. He's the second most powerful barrier user right after me. So Tengen's still the most powerful barrier user, but he goes, but he will eventually be able to undo the seals that Tengen has put around the Star Corridor, around the barriers and stuff, right? He'll eventually break in. So when he does, I need somebody to protect me, otherwise it's game over. So, and basically, so they summarize at this point and said, so he prevented the merging with the Star Plasma Vessel 11 years ago. That was part of the intention. Forced your evolution and now wants to consume and control you through cursed manipulation. Because once he controls Tengen, Tengen won't have a choice but to merge with whatever he wants him to. And so, as I said, he's been around for 1,000 years. So this is where I have a bit of a problem. And I was going to talk about this before with the whole destiny thing. Because at first it was sort of like, all right, it's all fine and good that he's been doing this to prevent this shit from happening, right? Like, he's been preventing all this stuff. And he says, because I, the Star Plasma Vessel, and the Six Eyes are all connected by fate. So where did Tengen initially come from? That's still, like, we don't know those origins necessarily. And Yuki's staying behind, so I feel like during this arc, we're going to, like, jump back to them having, like, conversations or whatever, because Yuki's one of the two people staying behind. And she's like, because I want to talk more to Tengen, so maybe we'll get sort of his origin. Because the Star Plasma Vessel and the Six Eyes are just people that, like, boom, they got the gift sort of idea. But they're born, they die, they're born, they die. And apparently Kenjaku has lost twice in history to these people. He's been trying to basically pull this stunt for, well, centuries, and it's never worked. And in the past, Kenjaku has twice lost to the sorcerers of the Six Eyes. The second time, he took no chances, found out who they were, and killed them when they were still babies. He killed them, he says, less than 1 month after they were born. He found the Six Eyes, who had the Six Eyes, dead. Found the, probably still difficult, but probably the only time you're going to get a chance is to kill them when they're babies. And then, same with the Star Plasma Vessel. He said, but nevertheless, on the day of merging with me, the Six Eyes and Star Plasma Vessel appeared anyway. They arrived anyways. So it wasn't going to work. His idea that he could kill them off and then they wouldn't arrive in time, it just didn't happen. Okay, it's like, no, by the time of the merge, the Six Eyes and the Star Plasma Vessel will be available and be able to stop. Basically, the Six Eyes will be strong enough and the Star Plasma Vessel will be viable. That's basically the idea, that you're sort of trying to stop fate at that point. As Tengen explains, that's part of fate. No matter what, it's sort of like the endless, sort of like the Terminator loop. No matter what, Kyle Reese goes back in time, saves Sarah Connor, you know, that kind of idea, and they have John Connor. John Connor is the reason it's saved, so it's an endless cycle, at least T1. We won't get into the other ones. So, but that's the idea behind this. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then he says, all right, so after that, Kenjaku was like, well, then if that doesn't work, what about preventing the Six Eyes from stopping me? What about not killing him, but sealing him away? So he went searching for the prison realm, which he apparently found overseas and blah, 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 because two bearers of the Six Eyes cannot exist at the same time. So he kills one, another one is born. But there's only ever one. Gojo's that one. He seals Gojo. Problem solved. Here's the other thing, and here's the part where, once again, I'm going to have the comment section and probably explain this part to me, is the unexpected happened 11 years ago in the flashback arc. When Toji Zenin, when Papa, Papa Zenin, he showed up. Papa Fushiguro, he showed up, right? And a lot of people love this guy. I don't mind him necessarily. I just think he's a bit of a prick. And the thing is, and we have the reaction, of course, from Maki Fushiguro at this. basically, they said he was physically gifted through heavenly restriction, and on top of that, he was an anomaly who had escaped from cursed energy. I feel like there's more to this story that we need, because I'd like to know the details around this. Maybe they were explained before and I forget, but basically, he was a human being who had escaped fate through the power of heavenly restriction, and he destroyed our destinies. And then came along a boy with cursed manipulation, which was Gito. So the problem I have with this right here is that, yeah, okay, the idea was to prevent all this stuff from happening, and it will always happen. But if this guy, who he said he destroyed our destinies, remember, he just said in the last page, Tengen said that the Six Eyes, me, and the Star Plasma Vessel, we're all connected by fate. We have a destiny. And our destiny is to always, like merge with the Star Plasma, the Six Eyes protects, and then I continue to be like a linchpin of the world sort of idea. I remain. Okay, anybody remains human, more than curse. That's how this just is a constant cycle. Fine dandy. And you would say, okay, so that makes a whole lot of sense. And that's why it was necessary for the whole Star Plasma Vessel to be sacrificed and blah, blah, blah. Because I still am like, I'm with Gito, I'm with Gojo, like, yeah, fuck Tenken. Like, you don't need to die for him. Screw this. We'll take you away, sort of idea. I'm still with that plan. And the reason I'm with that plan is that if Toji is... So, Toji came along as an anomaly and destroyed their destinies. Now, does he imply that that's because he killed the Star Plasma Vessel? Because Kenjaku did that before, too. That didn't seem to work. So, there's no reason that 11 years ago it would have been halted. But because Toji, it sounds like because Toji exists and got involved in any, like, he basically, the circle, the cycle, the chains, they even show the change. They're broken. So destiny, fate, it's all out the window. So the part of me that says, okay, like this is the part that's sort of confusing me, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to go on a limb here and say that, okay, the idea was sound up until you told me that. Like, we can go, okay, yeah, it sucks that we had to sacrifice, the high school girl who wanted to live and stuff, but I see the necessity to keep the world safe. But because, according to this, how I'm reading it, because Toji is alive, that destiny was out the window anyway. He had already broken the chains of fate because he's an anomaly who broke away cursed energy, broke destinies, their destinies. The Six Eyes, the Star Plasma Vessel, and Tengen's. So, in actuality, because we could go out on a limb here and say he did that by killing the Star Plasma Vessel, and another one was not born, because Toji is the anomaly. And when he killed, unlike Kenjaku, when Toji killed the Star Plasma Vessel, another one didn't come back, because the chain has been severed, the chain was broken. Sure, but that's not what's said here. They don't say because Toji killed the Star Plasma Vessel, the destinies were broken. They said because he escaped, because basically it sounds like because he existed, he destroyed everybody's destiny. He destroyed our destinies, the endless loop sort of idea. The idea that it would just, so Kenjaku could never get his way. So by that logic, really, it was a stupid idea to try to merge in the first place, and we still could have saved the little girl. I'm just going on that limb because I still don't like the idea of sacrificing the girl. But by the sounds of it, it wouldn't have mattered. It would not have mattered whether they had run away or not, because the destiny was already severed. It was already shattered. He was never going to get the Star Plasma Vessel. So, because the destiny was already shattered, there was no guarantee anymore. Unlike when Kenjaku tried to prevent it, it was never going to happen because Toji existed. So, alright, that's the way I'm reading it, guys, and that, once again, this is a long chapter, a lot of stuff to cover, and that was like a theory inside of a review. But what do you guys think of that? Because the way it reads to me is that because he existed in the first place, that basically there was no guarantees anymore, right? So, or was it because, as I said, are we supposed to, is it implying because he killed the Star Plasma Vessel that the destiny is shattered? Because that's not how it reads, but I don't know. Either way, you guys let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. I am curious to discuss this further because there's a lot of information here. We're getting big info dump chapter. and this review is going to be like 40 minutes as a result. But yeah, so, and Gito was also born, and he had curse manipulation. So now this basically, actually, fate wasn't destroyed. Fate was set for the opposite. A new chain of fate basically started to exist, where it was like, we're going to set up everything for Kenjaku to get his way. Not only did we have a guy with cursed manipulation be born and arrive, we had Toji the Anomaly to do all this crap. Whichever way you believe it, at the end of the day, Toji is responsible for stopping the cycle, for all intents and purposes. So now all the people had come together, as he says. Tengen keeps explaining, says, other than the prison realm. So he goes to find the prison realm. Now, Fushiguro asks a question about the culling game. Why is the culling game necessary, pretty much? And he goes, it's not impossible to merge with someone other than Star Plasma Vessel, is what Tengen explains, but it's highly unlikely and would be incomplete at present. The culling game uses the player's cursed energy and the boundaries binding barriers in a ritual for conveying the human beings of this country to the other side. Through that custom, he will able to begin merging with me. However, and to perform that ritual, he had to undertake certain binding vows. The culling game is basically one giant binding vow with multiple tiers. That's what the culling game is all for, so he can get his way. To perform this ritual on this scale, he needed to make multiple binding vows layered in this culling game so that it's a proper trade-off. Equivalent exchange, for those of you who know Full Metal Alchemist, or sort of like the Nen system from what I understand and my limited knowledge of Hunter x Hunter. So it's like, okay, this is making a little more sense now. Now it's starting, okay, the culling game's making a lot more sense. I'm not going to keep going through that part, because at the end of the day, we already know the restrictions. He's not the game master, he's not this, he's not that. He's making it so it's almost impossible to stop him. However, rule number 6, which is the rule that a lot of us talked about in that chapter, a couple chapters ago, that's the thing we all talked about, was rule number 6. What are they going to add? Because you know that's going to be a part of it. Is that excluding the point value of a player's own life, players may expend 100 points once they gain it to negotiate with the game master to add one new rule to the culling game. The funny thing is, it says negotiate with the game master to add one new rule. It doesn't say guaranteed. It said negotiate. Could the game master say no? I didn't hear of anybody talk about that yet. That we all talked about the new rules people could add, but we never seem to look at that key wording, the key phrasing of that, negotiate with the game master to add one new rule. Yes, you can absolutely add a new rule, but by the sounds of that wording, the game master has to approve of the rule. Just saying. So that's interesting, and he's not the game master, and they don't really reveal who the game master is yet. But Yuta basically says, we have no choice but to participate in the game and add a rule where Sumiki and all the other unwilling participants can get out. And it's funny that Yuta says that, because then Fushiguro goes on and says, this is the rule we'll add is to free Gojo. And it's like, that, and Gojo could solve everything on his own once we free him. That's the danger of the Six Eyes. So, they continue to try to talk to Tengen. Tengen says, no, I want my guards. And Chozo and Yuki just right away, I will stay. Chozo says, you need Okotsu or Yuki on your side for sure. So you can't let both of them stay, especially if Kenjaku comes here for Tengen. So, I'm not as necessity as Okotsu or Yuki. So definitely I'll be one of the ones to stay. And Yuki is the one who takes the other jump and says, I'm not done talking to Tengen. Is that all right with you, Okotsu? And he's like, yeah. And Yuta's like, damn straight. Like, I don't feel like leaving the others right now, Like, Okotsu's like, yeah, like, I still want to be a part of this. And I'm like, thank God, because as much as I like Chozo and as much as I like Yuki, I didn't want Yuta to have to take a back seat just because he's OP. I want him still at the forefront. I want to see more of Yuta involved. So that's really cool. So this is where Tengen reveals that they have basically a back door, a back gate to the prison realm. But the thing is that only the inverted spear of heaven, which can nullify the curse techniques, and we saw that, that's Toji and his crap, and then the black rope, which can cancel curse techniques, those are the only things that could open this up. The authority to open it up, yeah, it's a back door, but only the front door can be open. The back door is locked without something to cancel out the technique. You can't break it open. So they have it, but they need something to do it. And they sort of have a hilarity moment where they're like, but Gojo was the one who sealed away the inverted spear. And he also got rid of all the black rope. And Yuta reveals that he was in Africa looking for more black rope, and they never found any. However, Tengen said there is one other option. There's a new Culling Game character who, yeah, she looks like an angel, is a sorcerer from 1,000 years ago. So she's as old as Sukuna or Kenjaku, from what we can understand. She refers to herself as an angel. I can see why. She's got a halo and she's got wings. Very creepy looking eye design, very creepy design. I don't trust cut bang females. I never do. I never trust them because they're always a little sadistic. They're always a little like that. And apparently her curse technique is the ability to extinguish any curse technique. That's not OP. I don't know what is, but I know there's got to be a workaround because that's too broken. There's definitely a workaround to that, but she can cancel out any curse technique. What's her range? Can she do multiple at once? Could you bombard her? I don't know, but she's apparently from 1,000 years ago. We see her basically flying in the air. Her name is Hana, and that's the end of the chapter. So, I mean, a crap ton to go over here in chapter 145, right? There was just a crap ton to go over, so I know this review is super long. But I really wanted to discuss my theory on the whole Destiny thing because I'm curious on how that works. There was, once again, just a huge info dump chapter, but I thought it was a really good chapter, and I'm sort of glad that if somebody had to stay behind, I'm glad it's not Maki, and I'm glad it's not Yuta. You know, as much as I like Yuki and Chozo, I feel like we need the evolution of these characters, sort of idea. Like, Chozo's already really strong. Yuki's still shrouded in some mystery. And as I said, I feel like we're going to get conversations with Tengen, like, in between the fights sort of idea. We'll jump back to them, and they'll discuss things with Tengen. That'll be kind of interesting now that they're away from everyone but Yuki. They're away, like, they have Chozo there, but it's just Tengen, Yuki, and Chozo, so maybe he'll be able to speak a little more freely and stuff. Things that maybe Yuji shouldn't be aware of, or Fushiguro, or Magi, like, things that maybe they shouldn't be aware of quite yet. Maybe some secrets. But either way, thought it was an amazing chapter. What did you guys think? Sorry the review took so long, but it was an info dump crazy chapter, and I basically needed to go over the whole damn thing. So, like, comment, and subscribe as always. It's always very much appreciated. And don't forget to check out everybody else who reviews Jujutsu Kaisen because it is a really good series. Chapter 145. I think that this coming arc is going to be one of the best arcs. I think it's going to beat Shibuya. I really do. And I'm really curious to see the new introductions. We already got one new character, but I feel like we're going to get at least half a dozen new characters in this arc. And that's going to be really exciting. So, but like, comment, subscribe, as I said. Hope to see you guys here next week for chapter 146. And we'll see you back here next time. Peace out.